So good morning and welcome back to another one. In this video we're going to talk about the unsung heroes of photography, which is these things. These are ND filters. So we've got polarizers, we've got 3 stock round filters, we've got reverse graduated filters, we've got 3 stock graduated filters, and today we're going to play with them, we're going to have a use of them, and I'm going to tell you how to use them and what they're for. So I've come down to the course this morning. The idea was to get here for sunrise. I've just about made it in time for sunrise, but the cloud's not there, so there's not going to be a pretty sky in this one, so everything seems to go wrong as usual. Yeah, so we're going to play with some ND filters today. I'm going to talk to you about them, I'm going to show you how to use them, and I'll give you some advice on buying them, what to look for, what to avoid, and the pros and cons of using them. So let's get stuck in and talk about these ND filters from Canon Concept. So I'm just going to set my tripod up here, and I'm going to use what remains of this. I think it's a pipeline that leads out to the sea. Actually, I've seen it before when the tide's quite a bit lower than it is right now. And I don't know if the pipe's still there, but there used to be a pipe running out along this thing. But whether or not it's still there, I don't know. But we're going to find out. So I'm just going to use this one first, and I think what I'm going to show you how to use is the reversed ND graduated filter first. So let me get the camera set up on the tripod. I'll get the reverse grad filter out, and I'm going to show you how to use that one now, because it's a good opportunity, because you can see just over there that the sun is still pretty low to the horizon. That's kind of the point of the reverse graduated ND filters. So let's get the camera out, let's get the ND filter out, and I'll talk you through using it and I'll show you what it does. Alright, so this here is my reverse graduated ND filter, okay? So it works pretty much the same as a normal graduated ND filter, only the darkest part of the graduation is in the middle as opposed to at the top. So with the normal graduated filter, the darkest part's at the top, and it gets lighter and lighter and lighter as it goes down. This is the other way around, so it's darker in the middle and it gets lighter as you go to the top. So this is great if you've got like a sunrise happening or a sunset where the sun is really quite low to the horizon. So obviously you can then blank out a lot of the strong light coming from the sun, which is why I'm about to use it now. The sun has literally just poked above the horizon now. So I'm going to slide this ND filter into place, and I'm going to cover the sun with it. And what that does is it brings back the sky. So where the sky will blow out because of the bright sun, it now brings that back, and it leaves everything else sort of above and below it. Leaves that so you can sort of get the exposure levels that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a picture. Now I'm wet with and without the ND filter, so you can see what I'm talking about. So what I'll do is I'll take a picture with the ND filter, I'll keep the same camera settings, and then I'll take a picture without the ND filter, and you'll kind of see what my point is there. So let's have a look at some settings. We're going to go, tell you what, we'll do a long exposure type thing. So we'll keep the exposure level nice and long. So we'll keep the ISO at 100. We'll zap this down to what, F8, F9, F11, I don't know, let's have a look. F9, a 15th of a second, ISO 100, just as a wave comes nice and splashy across all these pipelines. So there's that image. So I'll put that image on the screen for you to see now, and I'm going to take the ND filter off while you're seeing that image. So I've kept the settings the same. I haven't touched the camera. Again, with a 2-second timer, I'll take the same image. And there's the image without the reversed ND graduated filter. And you can see that the sky is completely blown out, but it's mostly around where the sun is. But the image with the reversed ND graduated filter, which is this thing, the sun and the sky, it was all exposed and you could see everything. So that's just a little bit of an intro into a reverse graduated filter. I can't say that one, I seem to struggle with that one, don't I? Yeah, that's the reversed ND grad. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the full ND graduated filter on. This is a 3-stop graduated filter. This is the graduated filter that you would see most commonly, I'll be honest with you. So let me go grab that out of the bag. We'll put that on and I'll show you what the difference is between the two. So this one is a 3-stop graduated filter. It's a soft edge one, so you can see there's a nice taper down to it. It's not, there we go, if you can see that, it's not a hard line where the graduation finishes. It's kind of nice and soft and it fades in gradually. So this is what's called a soft edge graduated filter. You can get hard edge graduated filters where it's essentially just a hard stop across the top, but I don't like them ones. I prefer the soft edge ones. But you can see the difference between this one and the reverse one, because it's darker at the top there, and it just fades and fades and fades until you get the clear glass halfway down there. We have to put it over the sky. You can probably, if I put that there you go, you can maybe just about make out what that's going to do. You can see it darkens the sky. It's great, so you don't overexpose skies. If you've got like a really bright sky in a dark foreground, there you go, that's kind of what it does. So I'm going to slide this onto the camera. So again, I use the square filter kits. It's the 100 by 100 or 100 by 150 millimeter filter kits. You can buy You can buy round ND filters, which essentially just screw onto the front of the lens. Now, they work fine, they're absolutely fine for what they do, but the only problem with that is you might have lenses that are like different size filter threads, and at that point you're buying like 8 different filters, and yeah, because you might have a 67mm, a 77mm lens, and an 82mm lens, and at that point, if you want to buy, say, a 10-stop filter, you're buying 3 10-stop filters, and that's to screw on the front of each lens. So I just prefer to buy the square filter kit. So I've got 3 step-up rings for each of the sizes of my lenses, and the square filter holder sits on the front of there. A bit more expensive on outlay at the start, but in the long run, it'll save you money because you don't happen to buy different size filters and all that kind of stuff. So here's the the ND graduated filter on. Like I said, this is a 3-stop one. So if I slide this on now, let's have a look. There we go. That looks alright to me. Settings have changed slightly because the sun's a little bit higher in the sky. So if I just sat this down to maybe F11. Let's have a look. I'll tell you what, I'm going to recompose this. I'm going to take a picture of... There's a wind farm out there. Let's take a picture of the wind farm instead of them posts again. Because why not? There we go. If I plonk the horizon level there. So obviously we want to get some sky in this one. It just came to me, we want to get the sky in this shot, don't we? So, let's have a look. Oh, filter ring spin around. Slide it down, so darken the sky off. Change the exposure levels. The 30th of a second, F11, ISO 100. So this is the photograph with the 3-stop graduated ND filter, the soft edged one. So I'll throw that on the screen for you to see. And now I'm just going to take the filter off the front again, and I'll take a picture with exactly the same settings as before and be able to see the difference, probably most dramatically in the sky. Let's compare the two. There we go. Actually, look on the back of the camera, there's not too much difference between them two images, if I'm being honest with you. Obviously, it's still a little bit dark at the minute for me. Obviously, you're not going to be able to tell with the exposure levels on the camera, but it is still a little bit dark out here. So there's the 2 images: 3-stop soft edge graduated ND filter, with or without. I'll let you make your mind up. You can basically see. I tend to use Canon RP concept filters. I don't find they're actually quite a reasonable price point. Actually, they maybe start from around £30, and they go anywhere up to £100. Like that. I use the Canon RP ones. They're really good quality for the money, and a lot of people buy these lease systems and everything that are cost an arm and a leg. And you kind of reach a point of diminishing returns when it comes to an ND filter. So you can go out, you can spend £30, you can go out and spend £130, and in all honesty, there's probably not going to be an awful lot of difference between the 2 filters. You're buying into a brand, and well, what's the point in spending an extra £100 on something that's going to do exactly the same thing as a slightly cheaper one. Now I know that's sort of counterintuitive to what I said earlier on about the cheaper ones, the more expensive ones, but you got to remember, the more you spend, that's it. I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. At the lower end of it, the more you spend, the better you're going to get. But as you sort of go up the price points, like I said, you do reach diminishing returns at some point. So I'd say £30 to £50 is probably a good spot for spending on an ND filter. So I've got 2 more ND filters to show you this morning. So I've got just a 3-stop ND filter. It's a round screwing one. It's sort of got the magnetic cap on the front of it. And I've also got a polarizer to show you as well. So I'm going to move locations a little bit now the tide's gone out a little bit. There's some more interesting stuff that's going on over my right hand shoulder down there. I don't want to stand here taking pictures of wind farms and rusty iron posts hanging out at sea. So we're going to move down there, and I'll show you what the difference is using a 3-stop ND filter, and then I'm going to show you what the difference is using a polarizing filter. So let's move down there and take some more images. Alright, so this is the next ND filter that I want to talk to you about. This is a full ND filter. It's a 3-stop it's just a 3-stop circular one. So if I put that on the screen, there you go. You can see darkens the exposure off. So this one's a fun little one. It has a magnetic cap on the front of it. It's really weird. Never seen the magnetic ones before. Again, Canon RP concept, because they are my go-to brand for ND filters. So what does this one do? Well, basically it stops light. That's all it's there for. There's no fancy graduation to this one. It doesn't do anything special. It just blocks bright light out from entering your lens, and it blocks 3 stops of it out. So I'm going to stick this on the front of the lens. Like I said, this one is a screw-in type. What size is it? This is an 82mm one. So this one just basically screws right into the front of the lens. No filter holder required. So Let's screw it on the front of the camera, and then we're going to take a picture, because there's a rock down there, and I've seen a picture of this taken before, sorry Dave, but the way the water swells around it, it looks quite fun, so I thought, well, I'm here, it's there. It makes a good subject to use this with, so I'm going to screw it on, and we're going to take a picture. Alright, so there's a photograph taken with the 3-stop ND filter on the front of it. Now, something that a lot of people do when they first sort of buy into filters and they see these long exposures is they go out and buy the 10-stop ND filter, which is great, to be honest with you, but it's only really great for the middle of the day shooting. If you come out for a sunrise and a sunset shoot and you're using a 10-stop ND filter, the problem you're going to find is you're going to get that smoky water look. Yeah, great, but it's really easy to overdo it with the 10-stop filters and with the 6-stop filters as well to a point. What you'll tend to do is you'll find a subject like this rock I've got in the water there, and you'll stick a 10-stop filter on, give it 20-30 seconds of exposure time, and the first time you do it, you look in the back of the camera and think, that looks really good actually, it looks really amazing and really fun. And to be fair, it does. But there becomes a point where you're losing the point of the ND filter and the long exposure there. You want to try and retain some texture in the water. So that's why I'm using the 3-stop magnetic filter from KNF this morning. It's basically, it just allows some of the texture to remain in the waves that are crashing around. So you still get the little splashes, you still get all the white foam, you still get all the darkness. Whereas if I was using the 10-stop filter now, everything would just be completely flat, and to be fair, you'd lose some of the artistic look to it. It'd just look all flat and smoky. So here's the image that I've just taken with the 3-stop filter on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same as I've done earlier on. I'm going to take the filter off, and I'm just going to take another picture, and I'll put them up side by side so you can see the difference that the ND filter makes. So with these KNF ones, all you do, you're just unscrew it from the front of the lens like this. Eventually it'll come off. So there we go. So I'm just going to use the same settings as before, which is 1/4 second, f11, ISO 100. This is going to look awfully overexposed right now. And there it is. That's kind of the point. I know that image is awful, but that's kind of the point. So I'm just basically showing you what these ND filters do. Look, it makes me disappear. And there I am again. So the last one I've got is a polarizing filter. It's a circular polarizing filter. Now, don't be confused by the term circular polarizing filter and think that means it's a round one, because you can get linear polarizing filters and circular polarizing filters. And it's basically, it's a way that the polarization works. I don't understand it too much, but I do know it's not anything to do with the shape of the actual filter. So I'm going to find something wet to take a picture of, mainly me at the minute, I think, because my feet are soaking from the waves. So I'm going to find something to take a picture of using the polarizing filter, and I'll probably just have to record footage through the Canon RP to really show you how the filter works. So I'm going to go stick this one away back in the bag. We'll get the polarizing filter out, and we'll have a play with that one. Right, so here's the last filter of the day that I want to show you. It's a circular polarizing filter, and if I put this one up to the screen, it darkens it off a little bit. You tend to lose maybe a stop of light using a polarizing filter, but not really as dramatic as the other one. What I tend to use these for is to remove glare and reflections from wet surfaces. So if I was, say, taking a photograph of a waterfall and some wet rocks around the waterfall, I'd put the ND filter on, I'd rotate it just until the sheen, the glare, all the wetness reflections are removed from the rocks. Now, polarizers are also great for popping colours as well, so blues and greens really, really pop with a polarizing filter, but they're not a one-size-fits-all solution. I just realised how wonky the horizon is in this shot. I didn't really think this through properly, did I? Like that. But yeah, they're not really a set it, let's call it a set it and forget it filter, shall we? If you're trying to take glare off of a rock, but you've also got a green tree next to it, chances are you can remove the glare from the rock, but you can't pop the colour in the tree next to it at the same time. It's basically to do with the way the light's hitting things and the way things are reflected. It kind of removes it from, say, I'm not really too sure how it works, but it just removes glare from certain angles. So you can't remove the glare and pop the colour at the same time. So you kind of got to choose one or the other. I'm going to have to really read up on how polarizers actually work, because I'm trying to explain them, aren't I? But yeah, they are generally just a clear piece of glass, and on the front of this one, it does actually rotate. If I can get it to rotate, we'll play with that when we screw it on. So I'm going to put this onto the camera, and I'll probably just have to, I don't know if I can maybe talk you through this one with it on the camera, or I can maybe just record and show you, but there's some wet sand down there with some rocks, and I'm going to show you how it works with that, and I'll maybe just point it at the blue sky with the white clouds, and again, I'll show you how it works with that. So let's get it screwed onto the camera. Alright, so as you can see on the beach down here, there's all this wet sand and everything. You see it's kind of glaring, reflecting the blue sky a little bit in it, and you may not necessarily want that in your photograph. So if I spin the polarizer around, and there we go. You can see down there, you can now see all the sand that was underneath. The water, or the reflection, is kind of gone. So that's basically how a polarizer removes reflections. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to point this thing to the sky. I'm going to find a cloud in the blue sky, but there isn't a lot to choose from at the minute. And I'm going to show you how it pops the colour in the sky. So let's have a look. If I move this camera around to look at the sky up there, we go. There's a nice little cloud up there. Look. So if I start spinning the polarizer now, there you go. You see it kind of darkens off the sky a little bit, and the white really pops. And if you go back the other way, it's like a really blue sky, and the white doesn't pop. And you go back the other way, and darkens the sky, and the white pops. But because we're popping the sky up there, I really want to see if my theory holds true. So if I now point this thing back down the wet sand, I'll look down there. There we go. You can see the glare's back. So if I then rotate the polarizing filter, look, glare is gone. So that's what I meant about it not being a one-size-fits-all solution. So I can pop the cloud in the sky, I can remove the glare from the wet sand, but you can't do both at the same time, so I had to rotate the filter. So I hope this video has been helpful if you're interested in ND filters, specifically the ones that I use, because I can't show you ones that I don't have and don't use, can I? So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. I know the photos in this have been a bit naff, but that's kind of beside the point. Let me turn the recording off on my RP first, because, well, I don't want a really big file to get home, so I think that's shooting in 4K. So yeah, I hope it's been helpful. I hope it's answered maybe some questions you've got about polarizing filters and ND graduated filters and the other kind of filters that I've been showing you this morning. So if you found the video helpful, do give it a thumbs up, because it really helps the channel out and it helps the video out. If you'd like to see more from myself, hit the subscribe button and you'll see more nonsense from me. I'm usually out taking photographs and taking pretty things, not really doing these explain videos because I don't think I'm very good at them. Oh, bless me. Yeah, if you want to see, like, you want to connect with me and stuff like that, there's some links to my social accounts down below, like Twitter and Instagram and things like that. You can see my photography on there. So until the next time, it's peace and goodbye.